What's up, everybody? Jackson here, and today I want to talk a little bit about Scalebound and Microsoft and Xbox One and Sony PS4. It's just a trail that I went on with my buddy Aristotle as he was sharing me this news. If you don't know what Scalebound it was a third-party game being developed by Platinum Games. If you don't know, they did Bayonetta, the Transformers Devastation, they did the Nier Automata. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but They did the new game that you're watching the footage for that's coming to Sony as the Sony exclusive. So it appeared that like all three companies would have had one of these since, you know, like Nintendo has Bayonetta, Microsoft would have had Scalebound, and now Sony will have Nier Automata. Now the problem with this is that Scalebound looked to be the best. I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at stuff on it because I didn't know what it was. I don't have an Xbox, so I wasn't actively looking at their exclusives. But after seeing like what it looks like a console seller. Like it really does, in my opinion. If that's what it was, if they were delivering like a 4-player experience where you're taking on giant bosses and you're all riding dinosaurs and shit, and you can ride some that fly, or you can ride, I mean, that shit looked cool. All right, and I don't know if they were dragons or dinosaurs, I don't know. But from the gameplay I watched, it looked really good. Okay, it looked fun. And I say console seller because I feel like games like that have a better chance of selling the console when they're co-op. You know, kids will be like more likely to be like, you know what, I do want that because that game looked really fun. I was watching my friend play, and then, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it looked really good, but it's been canceled, so it's not going to happen. But I strongly suggest, if you get a chance, just go look up the E3 stuff and the stuff that they had shown. Like, it looks really good. So the rabbit hole goes deeper than just this. Like, apparently there's this huge mismanagement going on at Microsoft with how they're handling third-party companies. We're gonna get there, but first let's read Microsoft's response to the cancellation. This is their official statement on it, and I'm gonna have links below for all these sites that my buddy Ari linked me to that I went and did my research on, and then I'll have some to the videos too for the Scalebound. I'll just have a bunch of links at the top of the description. After careful deliberation, Microsoft Studios has come to the decision to end production for Scalebound. We're working hard to deliver an amazing lineup of games to our fans this year, including Halo Wars 2, that's like the RTS, Halo Wars is the RTS, the real-time strategy Halo game. I've heard, like, from people who've played RTS games, I've heard nothing but good shit about that game, so. RTS 2 might look, or Halo Wars 2 might look really good to a lot of people, so. Crackdown 3, I don't even know what that is, but my buddy Aristotle says it's been radio silent. Like, that's just, he said, like, almost like the way he made it out is they're adding that in there as like just something else. But as far as we know, like, there's been no news on Crackdown 3 for days or something. So I don't know, that's my buddy Ari's been telling me, and he's more informed about this because I think he was wanting to do Xbox this generation, but he just kind of paid attention to what was going on when they did the Kinect and all that shit, and he decided on Sony because, I mean, this isn't a fanboy argument to make. Like, Sony has the better hardware at, you know, in that current time. Like, Sony, the PS4 was better than the Xbox One hardware spec wise. They're both garbage when you compare them to even like a $550 PC, but the thing is that that's why he got it. He's not, you know, PS4 guy. He's like, I'm a Sony guy, but only because the first system my parents bought me that was my own system was a Sony, you know what I mean? So I've just kind of always bought Sony. It's kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what he told me. He follows this stuff very closely. He follows it really closely. He's been following this situation on the Master Chief Collection been going on, where basically that game was pushed out. I'm going to have a whole video on that, but he's been following that. He's been filming it. And so he follows a lot of Xbox stuff. So I tend to believe him when he says that Crackdown 3 is kind of like just some bullshit they're throwing out there to make it look like better than it is. Anyway, State of Decay 2, I don't even know any of these except for Halo Wars 2. And then the next one, Sea of Thieves, I know that one. That's the new Rare title. They finally have Rare working on a game. How refreshing is that after they've mined the fucking shit out of their back properties? But so that's, you know, that's basically, and other great experiences. So basically their line is, look, we know we canceled this one, but we got all this other stuff and we're not worried and you shouldn't be worried. The thing is, a lot of people were looking forward to that. My buddy Aristotle was one of them. He had been looking forward to that, he said, for quite a while, and he was just like, that sucks. He's like, because he had already, you know, when they canceled Fable, the new Fable, he was already pissed at them because they wanted to turn it into an MMO from a single player experience. And I think part of the reason that is because he understands that when you take it from a single player experience to an MMO, some things are going to happen. And one of them, obviously, being the outcome that did occur, where you're taking on more than you can handle, because that's a serious fucking undertaking. That takes a lot of fucking people who know the fuck what they're doing to make an MMO and like the servers and things like that work. And not only that, the design, so it doesn't, you know, like, it's just, so he was already bummed, then they cancel it. So he's just like, holy fuck, you know, and it's just, and now Scalebound. So, I mean, I'm sure that he's not the only person. I'm sure there are other people that are watching this and being like, come on, Microsoft, what are you doing? And this rabbit hole goes really, this is, okay, I'm gonna have a link to this. This is a NeoGAF thread from a NeoGAF poster 99. He has, you know, links to everything, he's got stuff, so I'm just gonna read a little tidbit here about another game that was happening. It's a game called Darkside. Oh no, okay, Darkside is the third-party developer, and Phantom Dust is the game, okay? And this what I'm about to read is, if this, it's terrible, okay? And the reason I tend to believe it is because I've already seen tweets from people. I don't know if he's the Kotaku guy, because Kotaku was the first ones to break this. They usually are. They've got a guy who gets tons of good inside stuff really fast. But whoever, there was a tweet I saw, and it's actually on this thread, and he says, is Microsoft shady handling of Platinum it is, okay, he's basically saying it's Microsoft's shady handling of Platinum that is responsible for this. I have that on good authority. Yeah, and then someone in reply says, yeah, hearing some not super great things. And then he replies, the news got to me in confidence as of Thursday, and what I was told made me feel sick. So whatever happened with this game, Scalebound, made this dude feel sick. And when you go back, and this 99 NeoGAF commenter, or poster, he posted this, and when you read about this Darkside studio with this game Phantom Dust, you kind of get a picture into how Microsoft may be currently handling third-party development. And it's not fucking pretty. And that's why I want to read this. Because I think that, honestly, there's been many hurdles that have been facing Microsoft. And I think that Sony's going to come across them now, because they have so dominantly won this generation. And I think we've already seen them moving towards just stupid moves. I think all of us can point at a move that Sony's made in the past 2 years and be like, that was fucking stupid. All right. Microsoft, they were floating off the success of the 360 because the 360 kicked the shit out of the PS3. I wasn't even paying attention to the business end of things back then. But apparently the Xbox 360 was dominant, all right? It makes sense because Halo's is a wildly popular series. That's an excellent exclusive to have. Now, I'm not going to say that just them losing Bungie is the problem, because they still have Halo, and I think that most people who are diehard Halo dudes bought that because they wanted to play the new Halo. Regardless of if it was Bungie or 343, they just wanted to play it because it's Halo. Now, I think what it really was is because Microsoft got a super big head, kept following the success of the 360, and they did the Kinect, they did all sorts of things that were just foolish, stupid moves, and it really hurt them in the long run, to people like fans, diehard people that were paying attention, like my buddy Aristotle, who probably would have bought one, even as like a side console, you know what I mean, but doesn't, you know. I have a friend, Trevor, he has the Xbox One, but he hardly ever plays it. I think the only game he was really like going on about that was and I know this because this is a not criticized, praised, okay, critically praised, that's what I should say, but the Forza series. And he said the new Forza game was fucking awesome, and I remember I didn't see him on his Sony for a while because he was playing the shit out of that. But for the most part, you know, There's not much over there keeping him there. He's usually just playing his Sony, you know, his Vita. I know he's got a Game Boy. He's got a lot of options. So for him, you know, it's just the Scalebound would have been a good thing, is what I'm saying. But I'm saying that I think that the Xbox they got that big head from their successes, and they felt like they could do no wrong. They hired people that I don't think understood the game industry. I think they were hiring people that just didn't have a grip on the way the culture is. Not only the culture, but just the way the industry is, because of, and I'm going to get into it with this dark side third party and what their story was and what happened to them. Because once you hear about what happened with them, it kind of comes clearer what may have happened with Platinum Games and why this Adam Bolton guy, I don't know who he works for, but he's obviously a journalist, but he says the news got to me in confidence as of Thursday, and what he was told makes him feel sick. Like, you're able to understand that. I mean, just look at what happened. Because of this cancellation, a significant portion of Platinum workers are without a task. Kamiya on mental health leave. So the dude who was over the game is on mental health leave. And the studio is bereft of payment for a month of work. Yeah, so I don't know. Let's read this and then we'll just talk about it. I don't know what it is. I think they just have the wrong people in there handling it. I think they need better people handling these third parties. Because if this is just one, and then the guy says there's more examples, and I just read one where they've just like kind of, I'll have links below to all of this. But basically it appears that Microsoft is horrible at third party management. And whoever is responsible for that, they needs to change. Like, you need to make these third parties feel good about working for you. Give them the means and the tools that they need to make the game that you're asking for, because that's how you get good games. You know what I mean? That's how you get the good games that are the good exclusives that people are buying your console for. It's because you treat those people with respect, you give them the means to do whatever they tell you, whatever you're asking them to do. But let's just get into this. So, once again, I'm going to have links to everything. I'm going to have a link to this NeoGAF at the very top. And from there, you can go to that. And in the comments, there's another link that I'll have them all down there. But this guy has links to all of this stuff to back up all of this stuff. After some heavy-duty conversations in the spring of 2014, the two companies walked away with the deal. Darkside would get a $5 million budget to build a multiplayer-only reboot of Phantom Dust, complete with a spectator mode, tournaments, and a complicated replay system allowing players to share files, according to one person familiar with the original pitch. The initial plan was to make it a competitive online sport, along the lines of Hearthstone and League of Legends. They gave it the codename Babel. So it was just going to be another one of these fucking like Overwatch thrown in the mix with that. It's going to be that. They gave them $5 million, and that's reasonable, right? Like, because they're just going to be making the online work, making an online balanced, PvP only system. That's what the deal is. No more than a week after they'd signed the contract, according to several ex-Darkside employees, Microsoft's team came back to the studio with a new request. They wanted a single-player campaign. They decided that fans were gonna want a single-player game, said a person who worked on the project, but they weren't going to change the budget or the time frame. Suddenly, what was once a $5 million multiplayer reboot of Phantom Dust had become a $5 million multiplayer reboot of Phantom Dust with a 6-hour single-player story mode attached. That meant Darkside would need more designers, more artists, and more programmers, all of which equated to extra time and money that they didn't have. Still, employees say that they were committed to pulling it off. This was their first solo project. They wanted to prove that they were good enough to do it. According to one Darkside source, their tentative plan was to build a fun vertical slice, a playable and demonstratable chunk of the game, and use it to persuade Microsoft into giving them more money. Maybe that's what happened with No Man's Sky. Just gonna throw that random thought out there. Maybe what they had was because they needed more money, and they I don't know. Sony's been very good with their third parties. Like, I don't know. But there's something fucking sketch about that. And when I hear stuff, I'm a conspiratorialist, alright? But I try to keep a level head. You know what I mean? So like I'll believe like 10% of what someone's saying because that makes sense, but then they're talking about fucking crystals healing their fucking cancer and shit, or you know, some crazy bullshit like they travel interdimensionally through space, blah blah blah. So I tend to believe that humankind is beyond nothing. Nothing is beyond us, because if you look at history, that's fucking facts. Nothing is beyond us. We're selfish, fucked up human beings. Like that's just how we are. Okay, as a species throughout history, like the powerful are always fucked up. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Anyway, Darkseid was in the very early stages of development when E3 came around in June of last year, and some at the studio say they were shocked to see Microsoft announce Phantom Dust there. They were even more shocked to see the game announced through a pre-rendered trailer that nobody at Darkseid had worked on, according to studio sources. Perhaps most frustratingly for people at the studio, Microsoft wouldn't tell anyone that Darkseid was developing the game. Darkseid was put on a gag order. Though the game had been announced, they still couldn't tell people they were making it. It was very sad, one of the person on the project. It showed a lack of confidence in us. See? So they're just like, this is a game we have come... Dude, it's revealing. It's revealing. That they would do that and just like then not give any credit to them and say that, like, I don't know, maybe that's a good thing because the game, I don't know, but obviously people found it. I don't know, it seems fucked up. That seems fucked up, right? This is like Nikola Tesla shit. Anyway, Microsoft wanted a longer single player campaign. They wanted various features added and changed. They wanted Darkseid to help contribute card art to the accompanying mobile game Microsoft had planned. This kind of focus change happened on a nearly monthly basis, said a person who worked on the game. So all of a sudden they want a longer campaign, they want features added and changed, they want them to make a fucking mobile game, they want card art for the mobile game, because that's the new business model at that time, if you don't remember. Destiny, Fallout 4, blah 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 blah. Battleborn even had one. It's like, oh, well, if we're making a game on the Sony, we gotta have a companion app, because that it is fucking, it's good. I don't know why. I mean, I know why it happened. Because they wanted to grab a little bit more of the casual gamer and get them to be like, oh, well, I played this on my phone, I get it on that. It's... They're off base. These companies. They're off base. They're out of touch. Anyway. This kind of focus changed they basically, on a monthly basis, they were asking for new things. They asked for things pretty quickly, said a second person close to the studio. We kept telling them, we cannot make this game for the budget that you want. In the fall of last year, another obstacle popped up. One of Microsoft's creative directors, who Darkseid sources described as integral to Phantom Dust's success, left the company. His role was never refilled, which hurt Darkseid a lot. Producers at the studio had to communicate with Microsoft's creative team on a daily basis, and he had been one of their most important connections in Redmond. One particularly strange moment for Darkseid happened around then, when Microsoft's Ken Lobb said on a podcast that Phantom Dust would be about a 30-hour JRPG. What? The developers were baffled, I'm sure they're the ones making the game, and this dude's like, it's gonna be a 30+ hour JRPG. That was never part of their plan. Nobody knew he was gonna say that, said one Darkseid staffer. We were told by people at Microsoft that Ken just does things like that. The end result is that Darkseid went out of business. So, I mean, that alone is sketchy. That alone, because then they cancel it, and this guy, this poster 99 on NeoGAF, he's speculating, like, are they doing it on purpose because they know that they're gonna pull the plug on the project, and so they just increasingly higher demands and more unreasonable shit after the deal's been made, and then like, you do it or blah blah blah, but we're not giving you more money, and they're just doing it because they know that they're planning on canceling it. I mean, if you think about it, like that Microsoft guy who was working there at Darkseid left. I don't know. All I know is the whole thing seems rather fishy. And that whole story with that Darkseid Studios and their experience with Microsoft, that's a nightmare. Like, that's a nightmare. That's not a good place to work. And since they're saying the guy who's over at Platinum Games, he has to take a whole month off for mental health. I mean, I don't know much, but I know the Japanese are not the type of people who just... to me, it seems like he probably went through some shit to where he's on mental health leave. And I mean, if the whole company is off work for a month, like they're out a month's pay, like that fucking sucks. That's the kind of stress when you're responsible for all those people. You've met their families at Christmas parties or, you know, any kind of parties, company parties. You know these people, you know their families. You're now in a situation where you've had a lot of them working on something that they're not getting paid for. That's nothing. And then you hear about this story with the Dark Side Studios and what they went through, where they're just like saying stuff about, like, they agree, okay, multiplayer only, fucking arena style shooter, whatever the fuck, like League of Legends, along the lines of League of Legends, whatever it was going to be, that's what they were saying it was going to be. Sign a deal, give them the money. After that, they're like, oh, by the way, we want an 8-hour campaign. By the way, we want this. By the way, we want that. By the way, we want this. And this needs to be this. And then some guy's going out and saying, oh, it's going to be a 30-hour JRPG. And it's just... At what point... something needs to change. Something wrong is going on over at Microsoft. And it sucks. It really does. Because what it has caused is this situation where Sony was able to gain the upper hand. And now, as far as I mean, I'm buying a PC, so none of this shit affects me anymore. But I still find it humorous. It's just a interesting situation that has developed. And I mean, I'm a case of fucking power supply and operating software away from my PC being done. Okay. I've been building it piece by piece as I have the money. And, you know, I'm sick of this. This is the ultimate folly of what's going on, is anyone who owns an Xbox, these guys are responsible for the games you're getting. And you take a peek behind that and you look at what's happened, and then even with Sony, and you see some of the stuff Sony's been doing lately, and at a certain point, you just got to decide, like, I mean, I'm going to PC. I'm done. I don't want my fate controlled by these people. And with the PC, it's not. I mean, yeah, and I'll miss out on exclusives and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't really see how I should care. Because if this is what's going to be happening behind the scenes with exclusives that I may be getting excited about, then why should I pony up, you know, the 600 whatever it is for a brand new console? You know, 6, 7, 800, who knows how much they're going to start charging as their consoles increasingly try to compete with the PC. And so at a certain point, it's like, okay, I'll just build my own PC. I'm done. Because this is the kind of shit that's happening on the consoles. This is a regular occurrence on the consoles. And it's sad. It's sad because that's still just the dumbest sort of fucking move. And I can't get a grip on it why they feel like that. Like with the Dark Side and now with Platinum Games, especially that game. Like what are they running low on money in that department? Like, are they not able to give more money? Did they want more money? And they just like, was it agreed upon that this is what it was going to be? And then they're like, no, we want this, this, and this. And Platinum's like, well, we're going to need more money because that's really hard. And maybe they told them, well, bring it up and show us a, you know, like, I don't know. Maybe they showed them something. They didn't like it. They were like, this isn't what we want, so do it this way. And they were like, well, we're going to need more money. And they said no, and then fucking month worth of work gone down the drain. I can't imagine. I remember one time back on this really shitty PC I was using at the time, I edited a video, and this is when it broke. Like, I couldn't use it after this. But at some point, like, when I went to render it, after, it was 5 or 6 hours, I went to render it, and it wouldn't render. It was just it just was fucked. Like, some of the footage was corrupted, but it hadn't realized it yet until I tried to render it, so it went ahead and let me think the footage was fine and let me cut the whole video and watch the whole video in the fucking movie maker. And I fucking... half the video is corrupted, so it won't render, and so I gotta get rid of half of the fucking gameplay footage and replace it, and fucking like, it was seriously like 6 hours of work that was just wasted, just no point to it. And at that, the video was basically unsalvageable. Like, what was corrupted was what I needed. It was my gameplay footage, my examples. And so I can't imagine that mental health, man. Like, that seems legit, because I was pretty pissed. But let's say I got over it fast. I mean, it was my own 5 hours. I wasn't, you know, devoting it to anyone but myself and my hobby, so it wasn't a big deal. But that's these people's careers. And you know, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for me, Jackson. I love you guys. Take care. Till next time. Let me know below what you guys think about this whole thing. I'm going to PC. I'm done. I'm done with consoles. I can't do it anymore. I love you guys. Talk to y'all later.